Curfews are enforced in nearly 40 cities across the United States following the demonstrations. Our correspondent Alim Makbul was at the protests outside the White House and sent this report.
No justice! No peace! No racist! No peace! No justice!
These were protests against the killing of George Floyd, but given the location, they were also a message to one person in particular.
He needs to grow up. He needs to be a man. He needs to stop with the childish acts, the childish tweets. He needs to be a man.
As night fell, the mood got angrier.
Here outside the White House, for the most part, it had been a peaceful protest, but fires have been lit now, and the police keep firing gas into the crowds.
And they fired other projectiles too, in defense of the home of the president. And they were clearly on edge, but also did little to dispel the impression the police use unnecessary levels of force. At one point charging our own cameraman. In the streets surrounding the White House, with no sense of any attempt at de-escalation, there was anarchy, with shops and vehicles vandalized at will. Hard to imagine these were scenes playing out in the American capital.
That's probably a white person that owned that. They're gonna cover him and turn. All right, here we go.
We got every right to burn it down. Like, this is just pain right here. This is pain. This is the only way we can get it to them. They're not hearing us.
They don't understand when you just talk. It's just words to them. They don't feel anything.
And there's no doubt this has now become about much more than the brutal death of one unarmed black man. Alim Makbul, BBC News in Washington.
The protests have placed race relations in the US firmly in the headlines. The governor of New York State, Andrew Cuomo, has warned of chronic institutionalized racism. In Atlanta, 2 police officers who used tasers on 2 young black people driving in a car on Saturday night have been fired. The students aged 20 and 22 were detained shortly after the 9 p.m. curfew came into force. A CBS News crew was filming at the time the incident began. This is what happened, and we should warn you, you might find this footage disturbing.
Okay, so just to give you a little background, we were here on the scene. We turn around and we see several officers go up to the car and start breaking the glass. We're not sure what led up to this. There was a woman in the front passenger seat and a gentleman in the driver's seat. They're pulling him out now. Now, of course, the crowd has caught on to what's happened. We have no idea what led to this. They flattened the tire, broke the glass to the car, and I hear what I believe to be a taser. So you can see this young woman is being arrested, was taken out of the car, and then on the other side, we've got the driver who is also being arrested and several officers around him. I have no idea what exactly led up to this.
The 2 officers were fired by Atlanta's Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms after she reviewed their body cam footage. 3 other officers are being investigated, but the 2 young students who were tasered, 22-year-old Messiah Young and 20-year-old Tenia Pilgrim, who say they were driving home from taking part in protests, have both been released from custody and will not face any charges. Some police and National Guard members have joined protesters to show solidarity. In the New York borough of Queens, crowds asked police to kneel to show their respect for calls to end the deaths of black people in custody. Police cheered officers who took the knee. And in Minneapolis, a National Guard asked his colleagues to kneel as he appealed for protesters to stay peaceful. He also shook the hand of one demonstrator, although some told him he should have bumped elbows because of the coronavirus. Outbreaks of looting have been reported in a number of US cities, including New York and Santa Monica in California. And these pictures are just in from a furniture store near Chicago. A hammer was used to smash a window before people made off with items including TVs and rugs. Civil rights leaders have urged an end to the looting, saying it has nothing to do with George Floyd, whose death sparked the nationwide unrest. His family have also called for the looting to stop, saying they want his legacy to be one of Minneapolis uniting.